Hello everyone. So in the last lecture we study about the forward chaining method which is used as a technique in the inference engine. Okay. So in today's lecture we will understand about the backward chaining method and also understand about the backward chaining property and how the conclusion is proved by using the backward chaining methods and what type of techniques uses the backward chaining method. So after learning this chapter you will properly understand about what is backward chaining and what type of algorithm uses backward chaining method and what type of statements or predicate you have, then you will use backward chaining method. So let's understand what is backward chaining method. So, guys, backward chaining is also known as backward deduction or a knowledge reasoning method. So, when using an inference engine, a backward chaining algorithm is a form of reasoning which start with the goal and work backward, chaining through rule to find known facts that support the goal. Okay, means just opposite the forward chaining. As in the forward chaining we have some predicates or statements, and then by using these predicate or statements we reach to a particular conclusion, right? We reach to a particular conclusion. But in the backward chaining it was just opposite to the forward chaining. We have a conclusion and we need to reach the predicates. Okay. So, guys, let's understand what are the properties of backward chaining. So, it is known as a top-down approach, and backward chaining is based on the modus ponens inference rule. And in the backward chaining, the goal is broken into a sub goal, or sub goals is proof the facts true. Okay, means in the backward chaining you have already a goal, and through the goal uh, uh, you just reach to the facts. Okay, so it is called a goal driven approach, as a list of goal driven which rules are selected and used. Okay, next property of the backward chaining is backward chaining algorithm is used in a game theory, theorem proving tools, and inference engine. So we need to prove assistant and various AI application. The backward chaining method mostly use a depth first search strategy for proof. For example, in the last lecture we took an example, right? We took an example that as per the law, it is a crime for an American to sell weapon to hostile nation. Okay, so country A is an enemy of America, had some missile, and all the missile were sold to it by Robert. So who is Robert and who is an American citizen? So we need to prove that Robert is a criminal in the forward chaining, right? But in the backward chaining, this is the same example, but we already no, this is the same example we took, but here already given that the robot is a criminal, and we need to reach that, we need to prove that robot is an citizen of America and who sell all the weapon to the hostile nation. Okay, so guys, let's understand in a backward chaining how this can be a proof. Okay, so guys, you can see here they are all the in the backward chaining we will use same example and we will retrieve all the rules, right? Means in the last in the last lecture, when we are doing a forward chaining method, then we took first statement, first predicate or first equation as an American is a robot is an American, right? But here, first of all, you are already knows that Robert is a criminal. So first statement is our first predicate is P is an American and Q is a weapon and R is a hostile nation, and sells PQR means definitely any American, P is an American who sell Q weapon to hostile nation, R hostile nation. Then it is to be proved that P is a criminal. This one is the first statement in the backward chaining. Next, second statement is owns A comma T1 means here you replace uh, a here you replace a from T1, and then next missile T1, and after that missile P and own A comma P, then uh, cells robot comma A robot comma P comma A. Okay, this one is the fourth equation. Again, same for the five equation. If P is a missile, then P is a weapon. Okay, fifth equation is a enemy P comma America, then P belongs to the hostile. Okay, P belongs to the hostile. Next, if A comma America belongs to enemy, okay, and then last one predicate is a American. A robot is an American. Okay, so for that we wrote that American, in which we pass robot. So backward chaining proof. We will start with our goal predicates. We will start with our goal predicates, which is a criminal robot. Okay, means we have only one thing, right? That robot is a criminal. So in the first step, we wrote first order logic for this line. Okay, so at the first step, we will take a goal facts, and from the goal facts, we will infer other facts, and at least we will prove those facts true. Okay, so our goal facts is a robot is a criminal. So following is the predicate of it. So you can see here. Robot is a criminal. For that first order logic, in the first order logic we write a statement like this. Okay, next understand step 2. So at the second step, uh, we will infer other facts from goal facts, which satisfy the rule. Okay, so as we can see in a rule 1, the goal predicate, the goal predicate, that is criminal robot, is present with substitution robot slash P. Means if we replace robot from P, so we will add all the conjunctive facts, the first level, and will replace P with the robot. So guys, see what happened. We will replace P from the robot. Okay, so here we can see an American robot is a fact. So it is proved here that we took actually American robot weapon Q, and cell robot comma Q comma R and hostile R. So next, in the third step, and we will extract further facts, that is missile Q, which infer from weapon Q, as it satisfy rule 5, that is weapon Q is also true with the substitution of constant T1 at Q, right? So we just substitute T1. Okay, we just substitute T1 at a Q, right? Next, at the fourth step, what we did, at the fourth step, we can infer facts missile T1 and own A comma T1 from the cell robot comma T1 comma R, which satisfy the rule 4, which is substitution of A in place of R. So these two statements are proved here. Okay, so these two statements are proved here. Now let's understand the statement on the step 5. In the step 5, uh, we can infer that the facts enemy A comma America from hostile A, which satisfy rule 6, and hence all the statement are proved true using backward chaining, right? So you can see here, it was proved that it was approved that a robot who belongs to an America city, and who sell missile to its hostile nation. Okay, so it was a it would be proved. Okay, so next we understand what are the difference between backward chaining and forward chaining. So guys, so forward chaining, as the name suggests, that start from the known facts and move forward by applying inference rule to extract more data, and it continue until it reaches to the goal, where backward chaining start from the goal and move backward by using inference rule to determine the fact that satisfy the goal, right? And forward chaining is called a data driven inference technique, where backward chaining is called goal driven inference technique, right? Forward chaining is known as a down up approach, whereas backward chaining is known as top down approach, right? So forward chaining uses breadth first search strategy, whereas backward chaining uses depth first strategy. Forward and backward chaining both apply modus ponens inference rule, and forward chaining can be used to take such as planning, design, process monitoring, uh, diagnosis, and classification. Where backward chaining can also be used to classification and diagnosis task. So forward chaining can be like as an exhaustive search, whereas backward chaining try to avoid the unnecessary path of reasoning. In forward chaining, there can be various ask question from the knowledge base, where the backward chaining there can be fewer ask question, right? So forward chaining is slow as it check for all the rules, whereas backward chaining is fast as it check few required rules only. Okay, so guys, this is the main difference between forward chaining and backward chaining. Okay, not on a end operator, right? Means definitely if we are using an AND operator, then two proposition are needed. So the result of P and Q, if we negate, then same value is same value will you will found if you firstly negate the P and negate the Q, and then on that negation you will apply the OR. Okay, so this is a De Morgan's law. Okay, so LHS, if you make a LHS truth table and RHS truth table, they both are actually equivalent to each other. So this is the De Morgan's law. Okay, again in the second case, it applies the not condition on the result of P or Q, P or Q. So this is same result you will found uh, if you and the negation P and negation Q. So both the LHS and RHS truth table are same to each other. So guys, I am giving you a one uh, homework to you. So for each properties, as you know that commutative, associative, identity, distributive, uh, just make a truth table of each side, means LHS side and RHS side. Okay, just make a truth table for each and every of properties. Okay, then you will understand properly about the properties of operators. Next property is double negation elimination. So means if you apply negation on any negated proposition, then you will find a non-negated prepositions. Means if you apply negation on the negation p, then you will found the value of p. Okay, so this is a properties on this is known as a double negation eliminations. Means if you apply negation on negation, then it remove the actually negation effect. Okay, it remove the negation effect. Next one is a guys. Next one is a limitation of propositional logic. So can't represent relation like all, some, or none with propositional logic. For example, um, we cannot represent actually relation like all, some, or none with a propositional logic. For example, all the girls are intelligent. So guys, you cannot write this sentence in the form of propositional logic. Okay, another example is some apples are sweet. So again, for this sentence you cannot write a proposition logic. So uh, all the sentence in an English sentence, all the English sentence which actually contain all, some, none. Okay, these kind of word are actually contain of any propositional statement in an English sentence, then you cannot write propositional logic for that English sentence. Okay. Next limitation is propositional logic has a limited expressive power. Limited expressive power. And another limitation is in a propositional logic, we cannot describe statement in term of their properties or logical relationship. Okay, properties or a logical relationship. Our next topic is inference rule terminology. So firstly, understand what is inference rule. Okay, first understand what is inference rule, and after that we will learn about the terminology. So first, what is inference? So in artificial intelligence, we need intelligent computer, right? So which can create a new logic from all old logic by evidence. So generating the conclusion from evidence and facts is termed as a inference. Okay, term as a inference. So what is inference rule? So inference rule are the templates for inference rules are the template for generating valid arguments. Okay, generating valid arguments, or you can say inference rule are uh, uh, applied to derive proofs in artificial intelligence. And the proofs is a sequence of conclusion that lead to the desired goal. So in our inference rule, the implication among all the connectives play an important role. Okay, all the connectives play an important role. So following are some terminology related to inference rule. Following are some terminology related to inference rule. First terminology is implication, second is converse, and third is contrapositive, and then inverse. So these are some terminology uh, which are actually used. Okay. So first understand what is implications. Okay, so implication is one of the logical connectives which can be represented as a p implies q. So it is a boolean expression. Okay, it is a boolean expression, and it converts and what is converse? The converse of implication, which means that right hand side proposition goes to left hand side and vice versa. So it can be written as a q implies b. Okay. um, Next one is a contrapositive. The negation of converse is termed as a contrapositive, and it can be represented as not q implies not p. Okay, not q implies not p. And next one is inverse. So negation of implication is called inverse. Inverse in the and it is represented as negation of p implies negation of q. So for this all four terminology, I am showing here the truth table for that. Okay, so here I am taking two proposition, that is P and Q, and see, for the third column I am showing an implication. In the fourth column I am showing a converse, and the third column contra. Fifth column contrapositive, and sixth column is a inverse. So first, what is implication? Okay, so it show that p implies q. So for that, in the third column, we actually apply the implication rule, that is if and then rule. So same for that, we already understand the implication rule means it give the result false only if the if condition is true, and then condition is false. So only in the second row it give a value false, because the value of p is true, but q value is false. So in that case, it give a only false value, and other than that, it will be true. Okay, next one is a converse. Okay, so in converse, again, just took a value of q first, and then a value of p, then after that value of p. So in the first case both value are true, so obviously value is true, result value is true. In the second case, the value of q is false, and value of p is true. So if value of q is true means first, if condition is false, then we didn't check the value of then condition. Okay, it whatever it is, whatever the then condition, in that case, the result will be true. So if condition is false, then obviously it will give a true value. So the second row give a true value. Now again the third row, q value is true, but p value is false. So if condition is true, but then condition is false, so only in that condition it return the value false. So in a third row I am writing a false value, and again both are false, then in that case obviously true value are resulted. So do you understand the converse? Okay, now next is contrapositive, right? Contrapositive means contrapositive is negation of converse. So negation of converse in term as a is term as a contrapositive. So means negation of q implies negation of p. So first we actually negate the value of q. So in a first case, value of q is true, so for this condition we took false, right? So obviously first condition is false, so the second condition we are not checking, means then condition we are not checking. So obviously here I'm writing a true. Okay, now again second condition, firstly in the second column, you know that the second row, the value of q is written as a f. If we apply a negation operation, then definitely value become a true. So if condition is true, now we have to check about the p, as p value is written as a true, so not p, negation of p is false. So in that case, first premises mean if condition is true, but then condition is false. So in that case, obviously it give a false value. So that's why in the second column of contrapositive, it is written as a false. Now again, for the third case, q is false, q is true. So definitely not q. Negation of q is a false. So if condition is false, we are not checking the second condition. So same like that, we put here as a true. Now in the fourth column, now in the fourth row, q value is false and p value is also false. So negation of q is also true, negation of p is also true. If both are true, then obviously it result the value true. Okay. Now for the inverse, what happen if negation of implication is called inverse? Means not p implies not q is called inverse. Okay, excuse me. Okay. So uh, here I am taking a value of p and q first. So p value is true and q value is true. So if we negate both of them, then obviously first value for p value is false and q value is also false. So if condition is false, we don't need to check about the then condition. We directly put write the result true. Okay. Now again second condition. Okay, the value of p is again false because the value of negation p is false because value of p is true, right? So again if condition is false, then we need not to check about the uh, then condition. So I'm writing a true. Okay, directly I'm writing a true. Now in the third case, negation of p is true and negation of q is false. Okay, negation of q is false. Okay, remember that I'm talking about the negation of p and negation q in the third row. Okay, so the value of p is false and value of q is true. So obviously negation of p is true and negation of q is false. So false, first value is true, but second means if condition is true, but then condition is false. So in that case, obviously it result the false. Now in the again next condition, if we apply negation on p and negation on q, so we will get a result true true for the fourth condition. So if both are true, obviously result will be true. So guys, if you check that the inverse and converse both are equivalent to each other, and implication and contrapositive, implication and contrapositive, these both are equivalent to each other, right? These both are equivalent to each other. So guys, actually a rule of inference, or you can say that inference rule or transformation rule, okay, in a logical forms, it forms it actually consisting a function which takes premises and analyze their syntax and return the conclusion. So for example, a rule of inference called some rule of inference are there are so many rule of inference. So let's understand how many types of rule of inference are present. Okay, so these are the rules of these are the types of rule of inference. First type is modus ponens. Second type is modus tollens. Third is hypothetical syllogism, and the fourth is disjunctive syllogism, and fifth is addition, sixth is simplification, and seventh is resolution. Okay, so first understand what is modus ponens. Okay, so guys, the modus ponens rule is one of the most important rule in inference. Okay, in a inference, and it state that if p and p implies q is true, then we can infer that q will be true. Means if p is true, okay, the value of p is true and p implies q is true, then we can say that Q will be also a true. Okay, so it can be represented as the notation. You can see here the notation of modus ponens is written like that. P implies Q, and P implies Q, and also P, then in that case Q will be true. Okay, for example, if I am sleepy, okay, if I am sleepy, then I go to bed, so for that I am writing a implication rule that P implies Q, means for P I am writing I am sleepy. For Q, one statement is if I am sleepy, then I go to bed. Okay, and in which Q statement 2 that I am sleepy. Okay, so what conclusion will be we found, then means I go to bed, means a one statement is given that if I am sleepy, then I will go to bed, and second statement say that I am sleepy, then obviously you will go to the bed. Okay, so hence we can say that if P implies true, and Q is true, then in that case Q will be true. So guys, it can be proved by creating a truth table. So guys, see, in a truth table I'm taking a two value of two proposition, that is P and Q, and so for that we apply the proposition rule, right? Sorry, implication rule. So in the first condition both are false, then what happened? P implies Q. In the first condition, sorry guys, see, in the first condition there is a one mistake in this. For the implication rule, in the first column it should be a value 1. In the first column it should be a value 1, but guys, see, for the modus ponens, it give the result false, because in which P is not true, right? P is not true. So for the result of modus ponens, it is written here, 0. Okay, so here you cannot write P implies Q. Here you have to write P implies Q and P. Okay, only in that case you will have a value 0. Okay, again for the same, P implies Q will give P implies Q give a one, value result 1, and the value of P is 0, so obviously it will be 0, so let it be. Now in the second case, P is true and Q is 0, false, right? So if we are talking about the implication rule, definitely it will give a value, it will give a value uh, false, right? And here uh, the value of P is true, so true and false, obviously it will give a value false, so let it be. So guys, both are true, right? If both are true, then implication after implication after implication apply, then obviously result will be true, and also see the value of P is also true, then you check that the conclusion, that is Q, is also true, right? Means the value of P implies Q, and here I am taking and as a conjunction. Okay, conjunction with P. Okay, the result of P implication Q conjunct with the P. Okay, so if they give a value true, so definitely the conclusion means conclusion what given, that then in that case Q will be also true. So see guys, in the truth table it shows that P implication Q is obviously true, because both value are true, and the value of P is also true. If we if we conjunct the true and true, then definitely result will be true. So in that case we see that the value of Q is also true. Okay, Next is modest tolerance. Okay, the modest tolerance rule state that if P implies Q is true and not Q is true, then not P also true. Okay, so modest tolerance show that. So modest tolerance what state that if P implies Q is true and not Q is true, then not P is also true. So it can be written as a P implies Q, P implies Q and not Q. Okay, and not Q. Okay, so the conclusion will be definitely a not P. So I'm taking an example. Statement one say that if I am sleepy, then I go to bed. Okay, this so that P implies Q. Now, statement two that say that I am not go to bed. Then obviously, what conclusion will be infer that it infer that I am not sleepy, because we in a first statement we say that I am sleepy, then I go to bed. Okay, then in second statement I am not go to bed, obviously then it means it's infer that I am not sleepy. Okay, so just take a I'm proofing with that by using a truth table. So guys, firstly I have to prepare the truth table for uh, P implies Q. So guys, P implies Q, um, obviously both are zero, then in that case result will be one. First condition P is false and second condition Q is a true, then obviously true, but P is true and Q is false, so in that case P implies Q is zero, and again for true it's true. So guys, see, now I am actually ending with not Q. Okay, not Q, and if the result will be true, so in that case not P is also true. Okay, so guys, in the see column number 4 and column number 5 I am ending. Okay, means I am applying a conjunction rule. So first, in the first case both are true, right? So obviously result will be true. So see guys, result will be true, and in that case we see that the not P value is also true. Not P value is also true. Now again for the second case, not Q is false and P implies Q is 1. So obviously after applying the conjunction rule, it give a result 0, a result false, right? So we need not to check about the not P, what is not P and all that, because statement is only says that if P implies Q and means conjunction not Q well result the true, then in that case not P is true. So guys, let it be. Now in the third case P implies Q is value 0 and not Q is 1, so obviously result will be 0, so let it be. Again for P implies Q is 1 and not Q is 0, so let it be because result is 0. So right, it proved that by using a modest tolerance, that if P implies Q is true and not Q is true, then in that case it infer that not P is also true. Okay, next one is hypothetical syllogism. So the hypothetical syllogism rule state that if P implies R is a true, R is true whenever P implies Q is true, and Q implies R is true, then it can be represented as the following notation. Okay, following notation. So following notation. So for example, if you have my home key, for example, if you have my home key, okay, then you can unlock my home, means it shows that P implies Q. Statements Q say that if you cannot unlock my home, then you cannot take my money. Okay, it the statement shows that Q implies R. Okay, statement statement 2 shows that Q implies R. So if we reach to the conclusion, then if you have my home key, then you can take my money. Okay. Only in that, if you don't have if you don't have my key, then you cannot take my money, right? So by using a truth table, I am proving this. So guys, I am taking here three proposition P, Q, and R. Okay. So first of all, we firstly calculate. We firstly make a truth value for P implies Q, and then Q implies R, and uh, then check that if both value only if these both value are true, then only in that case P implies R are true. So guys, see, in the value of fourth and fifth column, the first row, both value are true, and also the result are true, right? So second value, both in the second row both value are true, so result will be true, right? In the third, both value are not true, so let it be. In the fourth row, uh, uh, both value are true, so result are also true. Again for fifth row, both are not true. Sixth row, both are not true. Seventh row, both are not true. Again in eighth row, both value are true, so result will be also true. Means by using a truth table, we show that if P implies Q is true and Q implies R are true, then in that case P implies R are also true. Okay. Next one is disjunction. Disjunction syllogism. So in in this rule, this rule state that if P or Q is true and not P is true, then Q will be true. So it will be represented as P or Q and P or Q and not P. Okay. So I'm taking an example. Today is Sunday or Monday. So it can be written as a P or Q. Okay. Today is Sunday or Monday. And statement 2 that today is not Sunday means it is not P. So what conclusion we reach that today is Monday. Okay. So by using a truth table, we show that the firstly we calculate that the P or Q. So so in that case, we check that the value. We check that uh, we apply a conjunction rule on not P and the result of P or Q. So guys, in the first case, obviously result will be 0. So let it be. In the second case, result will be 0. Result will be true, and we see that the value of Q is also true, right? Again for the third row, result will be 0. So let it be. And in the fourth case, result will be 0. So let it be, right? Next one is the addition. Okay, so in addition rule, the addition rule is one of the common inference rule, and it states that if P is true, then if P is true, then um, if P is true, then P or Q will be true. Okay, if P is true, then P or Q will be true. So we are taking an example. If I have a vanilla ice cream, that is P. Okay, and statement 2 say that I have a chocolate ice cream. Okay, so conclusion is I have vanilla or chocolate ice cream. So by using a truth table, it shows that firstly it calculate the P or Q value, right? P or Q value. So only in two condition, it shows the result true. That if P is true, see guys, if P is true, then P or Q is also true, and also see that if P is true, then the value of P or Q is also true. Next one is simplification. Okay, so simplification rule state that if P and Q is true, then Q or P will also be true. It can be represented as in the notion of simplification rule is written like that. So for that, P and Q we firstly calculate through the P and Q proposition. So only one case, it shows that the result see that if both value p and if p and q are only true, if p and q, p or q are true. Okay. Next one is resolution. Okay. So the resolution state that if p or q and not p and r are true, then q or r will also be true, so it can be represented as. So guys, firstly you need to make a truth table for that, and only in third three case it give a result to you, right? Give a result to you. So guys, so in the today's lecture, we will learn about this. Okay, we will learn about the all the inference rule and all the things. Okay, so here is your homework, uh, which you have to done after learning this lesson. Okay. So guys, just go through this book, Artificial Intelligence, which is written by Richard Knight, in which there are so many more examples are given. You can just prove them through the uh, by using the truth table, or there are so many sentences are written there. So just go and learn from this book. Okay.